Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 177. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. I'm very excited to bring you part one of a two-part conversation with Michelle Byrd. Michelle is the first three-time return guest to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. Previously, she spoke about time management in episode 94 and productivity in episode 136. And today we are going through her 5 steps to power up your productivity. And she goes through this POWER acronym. In today's episode, you're going to be getting letters P and O. And tomorrow, you're going to have WER. So as I was preparing this episode, I had no idea it was an hour because I had so much fun talking to Michelle. And so that's why I split it up into 2 parts. And Michelle is a daughter of the king, wife, mom to 3, podcaster, coffee enthusiast, and she's also the host of the Busy Vibrant Mom podcast for Christian working moms. And she provides them with the tools they need so they can have more time in their day and their week to pour into their kids, their marriage, and themselves. So I hope that you enjoy part 1 of this conversation. Go ahead and grab that notebook and pen and make sure you come back tomorrow for part 2. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do list running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life and motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. Well, hey, Michelle, welcome back to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. You are my first 3-time guest. So you are very special. And
I
I
love just
am,
talking with you.
yeah, I'm super excited to talk to you today. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of what we talk about and a lot of what we help women with is very similar. And
Mhm.
so it just comes naturally to talk about all the stuff.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm pretty sure we talked about time management and productivity, which are your sweet spots. And we're doing that again today because I need all the reminders and all the help, especially when it's like, I don't get really caught up in the new year, new you energy. It's just more of the like, okay, let's figure out some things that can work for me that aren't going to be too overwhelming that I can hopefully stick with like this year. That would be super nice. Thanks. So, so I know we're going to talk about that, but if you could reintroduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your family, how you serve moms, and maybe for this time of the year. I know you're on the West Coast, so maybe the weather's not too much of an issue, but anything that's like wintry that you like to do for fun.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, actually, today we're getting in our biggest storm or a
Mhm.
big new storm. So in California, it doesn't rain from like May until October-ish, November-ish. So by the time then it starts like raining, everybody's hoping for rain and it's like this big thing, and they're like, a storm's coming. And then it like builds for several days, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna rain. Like, it's okay. It's just rain. And then everybody freaks out. So currently we're going to have rain and everybody's excited. So I'm Michelle, and I am married to a great guy, and I live in the Bay Area in California, and I have 3 kiddos. Now they're all the way from elementary to high school.
Wow.
So we have one high schooler who's 14. She's 14. And then we have a middle son, and he's in 7th grade. He's almost 13. His birthday's coming up. And then we have our youngest one in fifth grade. And so I feel like we have a
Wow.
span currently. Usually you have, they're all in elementary
Mhm.
or all in high school, but it's kind of like a bigger span, it just feels like at this.
Yeah. You have so much experience with all these different age groups. So you're paving the way for
Now.
me.
Experience or just times I'm pulling my hair out, one or the other. So I love to help moms with their time management and how to kind of strategically manage their time. I do lots of personal coaching and group coaching to strategically help moms because it's often that you can get tons of information about time management and tools for time management, but it's really hard to know how does that apply to you and how do you put that into your everyday and what does that really mean? And if I'm running around and I have kids and activities and things, how do I make that better or save time or do the things that strategically is like not working in my, sphere? And so that's what I help moms with mostly. And you can find me at the Busy Vibrant Mom. That's my podcast. So lots of stuff on there to help moms kind of save time.
And what wintry thing do you like to do for fun?
Oh, it's a good question. Wintry thing. We love Christmas. We have lots of traditions around Christmas of places the kids like to go or tradition things. They love to go see a live nativity that
Hmm.
we like to go see. It's a church near us that puts on a huge live nativity and they make the whole town of Bethlehem. They have animals. They had a fire guy before the three kings would come in, the wise men. It's like a whole performance and thing. And so I think that's what they like most of going to that traditionally. That's probably what they would be really sad if we missed.
Wow. That sounds like quite a production. So that's really cool. And I'm really excited. You and I were recently in the Renewed conference together, and everyone had these amazing presentations and downloads and everything. And I was looking at yours and I'm like, this is so helpful for myself, but then I also wanted to make sure to share it with everyone. And it was this power worksheet for productivity planning. And before we dive into it, I would love to know kind of before you got into time management and productivity, like what were some of your biggest struggles personally with time management and productivity before you started using some of these tools?
Oh, it's a great question. So I think I was thinking about that and just feeling overwhelmed and kind of not knowing where to start, especially with three little kids. They're when they were little, you're just trying to keep them alive, and you feel like, every room in your house is a disaster and everything's everywhere. And so you just feel more chaotic. So I think by doing some of these things, it helped me kind of feel more like, okay, I have this puzzle piece taken care of. I have this puzzle piece taken care of. And, you slowly kind of build out what pieces are working. So before then, yeah, I just felt kind of overwhelmed and I didn't really have a framework to try to figure out what what is my day going to look like and I feel like this is getting dropped or you're really good at these couple things and then something else, throws you off. So just feeling really overwhelmed with tiny kids.
Yeah. Well, I know my listeners can relate to that, as can I. And I think the frustration for me has always been like when you go to bed and you're just like, I have no idea. Like, I know the kids are alive. I know I'm alive. But besides that, I have no idea what happened today. It's just sort of feeling like you're constantly in that reactive mode and putting out the fires. And when you're constantly putting out fires, it's exhausting because you can't move forward with anything that you feel is helpful. And especially in my experience as a stay-at-home mom, it was like, if the chaos was happening all day and happening every day, then that was like my life. Like I wasn't going to a job outside of the home. I wasn't, and so having some of that structure and having some of these anchors that you can kind of like hold on to, it also has made me feel like kind of more purpose in my days. Not that I have to be doing anything grand, but just sort of like, okay, more intentional and more purposeful in how my days are going instead of just like, well, today was a dumpster fire, so let's go to bed and hope tomorrow is better. So that's been, I think, the most helpful aspect for me, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There are days you just feel like, what did I do? And the more kind of I found, the more structure that I had, the more I felt like kind of more put together. Like, okay.
Mhm.
And even though we had to pivot from different things and, with little kids, your plans change all the time. You've, I felt like I could be more at peace and be less overwhelmed. And so I could react better to my
Yeah.
kids. And I could kind of love them better to be like, okay, I'm not freaked out and, in a sense of a state of, you know, stress. I
Yeah.
can relax more and kind of work through my day. And it just kind of helped me in my interactions with my kiddos.
Yeah, definitely. Same. So I would love to go through this 5-step acronym. Oh, I love acronyms. I use them all the time here.
You're the best.
But power. So we're going to go through each one at a time. And I'd love to start with the P. So what is the P in our power acronym?
The P. So, as we start, I just wanted to give a quick overview.
Mhm.
This is a really broad kind of overview structurally for somebody who's trying to, figure out, okay, I feel really overwhelmed. What do I need to do? So, this is a very broad stroke. So, I don't want people to like be like, oh my gosh, I have to set up this and this and this and doing this. But to give yourself grace,
Yeah.
each one of these kind of three things within each word are big jumps. They're like big steps. So don't think that you have to do all of them. Maybe pick one. Maybe focus on one letter. Maybe just do a couple things. Because I think often as moms, we can like react and be like, I have to do this whole
Mhm.
list to do each of these things and all the way. And then it's either all or nothing.
Yeah.
So take what works for you. And in your season, there might be certain things that you feel off. Like maybe it's your routines or your energy or your work. So pick that one that kind of needs a little bit more work and focus on that one a little, and that will help with the other ones. So as we kind of walk through this, the acronym of power, the first one is P. So you want to plan. And this one, typically, I would do as the first step. But if you're feeling, as I said, depleted in another area, maybe it's you're overwhelmed with meal planning or with routines or something else, start over there where you're feeling
Mhm.
overwhelmed. But really, planning is key because it will help your brain to kind of settle down and put things in place, both visually, mentally, and just to be able to kind of figure out, okay, this is where we're going. This is our roadmap. So in in plan, there's three different just tools that you can use to help you plan out your week. So the first one is having a paper planner.
Mhm.
And that one helps you visualize your week. You can get any paper planner you love or you like, especially with this new year. Everybody's probably getting planners for the new year and all kinds of stuff. There's digital ones or there's paper ones. I like a paper one. I love the Horatio printing planners. They're just beautiful. And there's lots of space to write, which I think is really important. So, whatever planner you do get, make sure there's lots of space so
Mhm.
that you can journal or you can write down goals or other things. Because I find that oftentimes I want to brainstorm or write something down. I don't have a spot. And then if I write it in a notebook or somewhere else, it gets lost
Yeah.
and then I never know where it is. So having everything in like one spot is really key. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I have gone back and forth with paper planners because I like them and then I'm not always consistent with them. I'm very consistent with my Google Calendar and being able to block things out because of having the podcast and coaching. So if I don't block it out and then I'm like, oh, wait, someone just booked a call for that time. So if I don't put it like not available or work block or whatever, then there's a chance that that could get hijacked. So I'm a lot better, I think, with the Google Calendar and our shared family calendar. So my husband knows like what's going on, in the family and in my life. But I use the paper planner a lot of times for like monthly reviews and being able to look back on the previous month and be like, oh, okay, so I felt like it was a blur, but things actually did happen, like I did read some books, we did do some things as a family, I did book some clients, that kind of thing. And so it does definitely have a place but I would like for 2025 to use it more for that visual aspect, like you said, to be able to look and be like, oh, okay, this is kind of the shape of what my day and what my week looks like. So I'm that's one of my I don't usually make resolutions, but one of my resolutions is to be more consistent with using my paper planner in 2025.
Yeah, it definitely does take more time than like a Google calendar or another calendar. You don't have it right at your fingertips often if it's physical. Um, and yes, I've noticed that the visual of your week is really helpful and to kind of plan out how things are going. Like, oh, look, I have a lot of evening activities, or the kids have this and that, or oh, we got to get kids to sports games. And then this weekend we're doing this and this. Or like, oh, we don't have too much. That's great. We're going to plan to just relax on these
Yeah.
days. So visually, it's really helpful. And then also, as you said, like looking back, quarterly, Horatio Printing, their planner has quarterly kind of things where you can take some time and go through your quarter. What are you
Mhm.
looking forward to? What, check in kind of things. I have to say, I'm the same. Sometimes I'm really good at the beginning, and then I'm like, not some of the other quarters. But I have found it's really helpful if I do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. So that's number one is having a paper planner. And the second one that we kind of talked about is having a Google Calendar. I think some form of digital one is really helpful. I use it with my spouse to communicate. He has a calendar, I have a calendar, and then we're able to kind of look at each other's and see, oh, you're busy here or you're doing this. And now this year, we're starting to add in our two teenagers who
Wow.
now have phones and now want to book things. And so they want to see, oh, can I go to my friend's house on this evening? Or what are we doing this evening? So they're now starting to look at it, and their calendar is in a different color. So
Mhm.
that's just, they haven't done too much on it. So it's like slow wheel, but it gets, busy when you have other people's calendars and you're looking through everything. But as you said, it does keep you on track and kind of you're able to map out your day a little bit better
Yeah.
and schedule like, oh, don't call me during this time. I have a client, or, this block of time I'll be at the kids' school or whatever it might be. So it does help you to kind of map. As I said, the main way I use it is to communicate with my spouse of like what we can book when, who's going
Mhm.
where.
Yeah, and I'm curious, I know because I have a cheat sheet that the third part of the planning aspect is the command center. And I'm just curious if you have used or know people that have used some of those electronic command centers that like have, I forget the name of the one that's like super popular, but that it has like the Google calendars and everything there all together. Have you seen those, used those, have any experience with them? Are you doing more of like a analog command center? Like, what does that look like for you?
That is a great question. So I'm just looking into Skylight
Ah, yeah,
is
that's
probably
it.
the one you're thinking of.
Hmm.
I have a friend who uses it and she loves it. And I've heard great things about it. And I was like, I wonder if that would be something that we would like or not. I know you couldn't put meal stuff on it. You couldn't put kids' chore stuff on it. My only worry about it, I haven't personally used it, so I want to try it out. My worry is, does it have too much
Yeah.
where you're like, you see the kids' pictures and their chores and their things, and you're like overwhelmed by it. But I'm leaning in that direction because it is really nice if it syncs up to all your other things. You only have to update one thing and it kind
Hmm.
of goes everywhere and kids can visually see it. So I think in the future it might be nice. I know there's like beautiful ones you can put in your kitchen and they like sit on your counter and look really pretty. Aesthetically, I think it would be great. I'm not sure practically how well it works or not since I haven't done it. But I have a friend who like was raving about them, like, oh, that's what I live by. I love those. So I have to check them out. But the third one that you mentioned, the command center. So this I kind of created. It's a spot that has three different pieces to it. And when I coach people, I kind of go through more of this, but it has kind of some kind of bulletin board where you put papers that you need in the future. So something that you're done with, like a gift card or a gift certificate that gets lost, or a piece of paper that you don't need until a couple months from wherever it is, like all of that gets stuck up on that board so that I don't have to have it on my desk. I'm not touching it. I'm
Hmm.
not looking at it. But then I know when I have to go to that doctor's appointment, that form I need is on, that's where it is. And then the second portion is a big calendar, like a dry erase calendar that I do every month. And I visually put everybody in different colors and like, okay, this is what we have going on. I think it's helpful because I can easily look at it and be like, oh, look, we got a lot of stuff here, or this
Yeah.
is when we'll do this, or this is when we're gone, kind of thing. The kids kind of look at it, maybe look at it. Like if I tell them to go look at it, they'll be like, oh, okay. But that it hasn't quite like sunk in to be a routine yet.
Hmm.
And then the third thing I have in kind of the command center, and this is all very high level, but the third thing is a just a kind of blackboard and it has three questions. And these are the three questions I get asked all the time. And so I got tired of answering these three questions. And so I put them up on the board. So the questions are when do we get video games? Whose turn is it to pick movies? Because we have a movie night every week. And then whose turn is it to unload the dishwasher? So those are the three questions. They may be different in your house. Maybe they're like, what meal are we eating
Hmm.
tonight? But they're the three questions I get asked all the time. So I'm like, I'm so tired of trying to figure out whose turn it is or what we're doing. So it's up on the board.
Love that. I really love that. So my boys, they love this Netflix show. It's called Grizzy and the Lemmings, and it's 6 minutes long for each episode. Okay. So there's like five, I don't know, 4 seasons with 70 episodes per season because they're 6 minutes long.
Right.
Well, they always want to skip the intro, even though it's like 30 seconds. Okay. And so we have to decide whose turn it is to hold the remote. So maybe I need a command center because I'm like, whose turn is it to hold the remote? They're like, I don't know. And then they get mad if it's like, I do someone twice. So I love that idea. That is a great way to reduce decision fatigue and use our brain power for more important things. So yeah, that is incredibly helpful. Let's move to O. I think I might like O. I have a feeling.
O is more up your alley. It's all organization is number O, is a letter O.
Yeah.
So there's three things in there to kind of help you, but your listeners probably have all these things down. So this is for somebody who but maybe, they're on the edge of needing a couple things. So as I said, this is a really high view. As you know, in organization, there's so many different facets of it, and you can go down so deep and so many different trails. So this is just kind of an overview of if you're stuck and you need somewhere to just get started, pick one of these things and kind of work through it. So the first one is that everything in your home has a home. So everything needs to have a place or a home. And if you find that there's a spot in your house where things are building up and nothing gets put away in that spot. All things get dumped. That's the spot you need to work on to find a home for those things.
Yeah, that is definitely surfaces for sure. And I would say, based upon working with some clients recently, one of the things I've noticed is stuff on the stairs. So just like all the way up the stairs. And part of it is in like railings and just really anything that's flat surface. So even having a goal of like, okay, there's this one surface, it's the clutter catch-all, like there's always stuff on it. Let's just try for this particular week that this is like the dining room table is lava and everything has to stay off of that and be put back where it belongs and everything. So I love that. Like you said, that is totally up my alley. And then you can take that concept and pick one doable thing that you can try to implement, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can go nuts trying to find, do every little thing, but just focus on trying to find those little things that are sitting out that don't have a home. And the easiest place to think about if you're wondering where to put it is to ask yourself, where would I look for this thing? So wherever you'd look for it, that's probably where it needs to go. So that's number one. Number two is to kind of tidy up 2 or 3 times throughout your day. So with little kids, I found that this was kind of around mealtime. Like we'd tidy up after breakfast if we were heading out the door, or we would tidy up after lunchtime and put them down for a nap, or then we'd tidy after dinner. So usually after meal times is kind of a regular routine to kind of tidy up, but do what works for you. Like now that we have older kids and they're like getting up, 2 minutes before they need to get out the door, and they're like barely getting food in, and they like grab their lunch and grab their stuff. And you have to remind them to wear, closed-toed shoes, and like
Mhm.
they're running out the door. We're trying to get to school on time. And so usually everything is a mess. So I come back home, and in my morning routine, I tidy up the house, and then I start my work block and that kind of thing. So pick what times work for you. And maybe it's just a couple times, maybe it's three, but it's like you usually have like a normal rhythm
Mhm.
of kind of tidying up.
Yeah, and I have found definitely when my kids were younger, but even now, that before they get to do a fun thing, then we have to do the tidying up. So for their tablet time, they like to do that in the morning, but you need to make sure you have all of your morning routine done and the dishes are, out in the sink, your snacks in your backpack, it's by the front door. Like there's the things that have to be done. And maybe you don't get to do your tablet if it's like the bus is about to come, right? Because they're still getting up early. Not quite
Yeah.
in the teenage phase, but I'm also before, watching Grizzy and the Lemmings in the afternoon, having to tidy up and make sure everything's all set because I feel like getting kids to do anything in kind of that witching hour is like impossible. So just do yourself a favor and make it an incentive for them to be able to do the fun thing that they want to do by requiring them to help with that tidy beforehand.
Totally true. Yes, I used to do that when they were really little. Then, nap time, I would let them just be. The goal was that you're in your room and you're quiet. So you could come in and it would be like a disaster. Like every toy was taken out and on the floor. And so to get them to clean up, and usually it didn't take more than 15-20 minutes, but we'd all help and we'd see how fast we can do it. And then you get to watch a show if it's all cleaned up. And
Hmm.
then take a deep breath and start dinner. But that gave them the incentive of like, oh, okay, we get to watch something. And they would help clean up and they would all help each other. And it was great. So, yeah, whatever you can do during that witching hour,
Yeah.
definitely find whatever their currency is. If it's video games or if it's a show or something fun, find that currency.
Definitely.
All right. Number three is probably one you love. It's a declutter to reduce the things you have to manage. So it's just getting rid of more stuff, being mindful that you don't need extra things, or maybe this thing you haven't used in a long time, you're ready to part with and give up. So just looking, and as you declutter, I've heard it said it's like an onion that you like go around each, more and more, you find more things that you can declutter and kind of give away. And then it helps you to be in the mindset when you go places or when you have the opportunity to purchase stuff, oh, I actually have 4 bottles of ketchup that I forgot about that are in the pantry. I do not need another bottle of ketchup at the store. So it helps with all kinds of things. But yes, declutter.
Yes, amen. Yeah, I think that especially with this time of year when we've had the influx of everything after Christmas, and then people feel sometimes that they have to keep everything because, oh, we just got it for Christmas. If you got something you have no intention of using, if your kids got something that's like a dud, like that they're not touching this thing, you are under no obligation to keep that in your house. You don't have to say, well, they might play with it someday or whatever. Just do yourself a favor and be able to, let some of those things go. Because I feel like January, with this feeling of, oh, okay, we're kind of starting fresh and in the new year. But if we feel completely burdened by all of the excess stuff, it's hard to be able to focus on some of these things that we want to happen in the new year because we're just inundated with a bunch of stuff. So here's your permission slip that you can donate the things that you got for Christmas. It's okay.
Okay. Nobody will know. And if they do know, it's fine.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I think, and also with that, of going through, kids going through their room and decluttering
Mhm.
stuff to be like, okay, now that you got these 10 new toys or these 5 new stuffed animals or whatever it is, do you really need these other ones? Can we give these away?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Speaking my language, Michelle, as usual.
I
All
love
right.
it. I was just walking through my kids' rooms and both of them, well, 2 of them have stuff all over their desks. And like we put the trash can up there, or I put the trash can up there because we had somebody come and clean, which is a huge blessing. But I like to try to get things up off the floor so
Yeah.
that she can vacuum. And I've been waiting to see how long will it take him to take the trash can off of his desk or at least touch his desk. And it for like 2 or 3 weeks, it's just stayed right there, like all the things. So I'm like, guess what? And over, vacation, when we have more time, we're
Yes.
gonna clutter a little in your room because it looks like you haven't touched anything, nor this like space. You have a great desk here. You could work on stuff or do things, but
Mhm.
it's all piled with stuff.
Yeah, definitely helping them, especially with the older ones, finding that motivation, being a helping hand when they're not getting the memo is good. If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama, you're overwhelmed, in fact, but 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words, they'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.